Welcome to the Alchemy of Ascension Season 5, activating Starseeds, walk-ins, and the new human of the Golden Age. I'm your host, Washela Sananda, and today it's my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Celestine Star. Welcome, Star.
Hi.
Hi, I'm so happy to have you here. So before we begin, I love to just have us all do a short alignment process so we can really get focused and present. And I invite everyone to close your eyes if you're able to, and tune in for a moment, deepening your breath into the belly. And as you're breathing, bring your awareness into your heart center, activating the light within your heart. And as you're breathing, let that heart light expand and expand up through the top of your head, far above your head into the central sun, making contact with the heart of the central sun. And then breathing that energy down into the crown of your head, down through every energy center, and then continuing down all the way to the center of the earth, making contact with the heart of the center of the earth, the heart of Mother Gaia. And then bring that energy up into the base of the spine, up into every energy center, centering in the heart light, and making a holy trinity of light from above, below, and within. And my intention is that everyone listening and watching will receive exactly the information that's for your highest good in this transmission today. And with that, I invite you to open your eyes. Thank you for joining me in that. And now I'm going to share some of what Celestine is up to. And it's a lot. So, this is going to be so much fun. Dr. Star has been called a woman of divine grace for our evolutionary times, possessing great knowledge, wisdom, and expertise in many fields of endeavor. Dr. Star utilizes her empathic abilities for betterment of humanity in her receiving universal knowings from her own higher intelligence and communications, and guidance from her direct relationship with Ultraterrestrials and Celestial Beings. Star's training in mystery school, arcane magic, metaphysical sciences, ancient Egyptian Kemetic alchemy, hermetic sciences, and Native American shamanism, including teaching of the Star people, began as a young girl and was part of her Kemetic Egyptian and Native American heritage. Star's own direct relationship with celestial beings of higher intelligence. Star began during a near-death experience when she crossed over into the heavenly realms and entered the Godhead at the age of 6 years old. The experience initiated a great transformation of consciousness in her life. In 2010, she founded the Galactic Earth Council, offering Galactic Earth Council meetings, encoded transmissions, celestial activations, galactic origin sessions, and sacred skywatch circles for those who heard the clarion call to come experience personal contact with our ultra-terrestrial star kin. Her work as an ambassador to the High Spiritual Council and Galactic Star Federation has safely opened the doorway to galactic wisdom for thousands of people to commune and experience our star kin, as they are called. So I'm going to stop there. Oh my goodness, there's so much to share. So I can't wait to dive in with you, Star. And what I'd love to begin with is your origin story. I know you had quite a rich childhood of knowledge and spiritual teachings and learnings and a near-death experience. So I'd love for you to share some of the key pieces of the beginnings of this work for you.
You. It's so good to be here, and I'm so honored to be present with you and all of you out there listening. So I just want to take a breath and just say glory in the light of the radiant one. And I surrender this breath to the radiance so that as I speak to you, you receive everything you are seeking and more. My origins on this planet began in the Syrian complex. And for thousands and thousands of years, our grouping has been here and continues to be here. In this lifetime, I came through the Kemetic Egyptian lineage, as well as the Croatan nation. And so I have also some European and was raised mostly in England. So we have always through my childhood this metaphysical, which means connection to nature, understanding the elements, understanding the esoteric sciences, um, astrology, astronomy. There was always, let's go out under the full moon. There was always a syncing of my life to nature and born in the United States, but yet always that was there through my mother mainly, but her husband was in the high rankings of a magical grouping. So I listened to the voices of the many chanting and empowering themselves. I learned the way of being in the inner realms, which is where most of the workings is done with the deep occult circles. They do all of their working in the inner realm. So I learned early as a child how to leave my body, go to the other realms. And of course, you come in contact with other uh, beings of the universe. So there was two lives I led. One which was, hello, good morning, the postman, or going to school and just being at wonder at the normalcy of what was going on, but yet having this other life that was as vast as the universe and speaking to the wind, speaking to the wind that carries the clouds, and always loving them, and thunder beings, beings of lightning. They were my favorite, and we spoke often, and they still speak with me. So, understanding the esoteric nature of reality, symbolism, arcane magic was about uh, understanding what the word or the symbol or the, connecting your voice and your action to the timing of the planets and the timing of the day and empowering that into one moment. We are here today, and you can open the field and say, what's in alignment? What's the energies of the day? You're always reading the weave. So that was pretty much my childhood. I dedicated myself, even though I didn't believe, and I still do not believe in controlling elements or demanding or these other virtues, which I feel are reversed consciousness. They're not unified. We all work together. We all have one consciousness. I committed to learning all I could about this ancient arts and this metaphysical learning so that I could bring it to the world, because I knew that I was there to help the world. And so I hold the basket for all of you of many of the great wisdoms, and I share it when I am asked. Um, so at the age of 6, I had a near-death experience. We call it near death, but for me, I was gone for quite some time. And I went through the light and had the reading of the light. As I came through the light, I came to meet two beautiful blue beings. They were luminous, and they were guardians to guide me. And so I was guided to the reading of the life. It does happen. You do get to see everything, and not only your one voice, oh, wonderful to meet you, Washela, but the other voice that may not be telling the truth, that may not be exactly as kind. So you get to feedback yourself and other conversation, whatever, but it's coming so fast. Every time you blink your eyes, every time you take a breath, it was fascinating. And So the reading of the life, and the next thing I knew, I was in that place that you cannot speak. When they say that it is too holy, uh, they are exactly correct. It is a vastness, it is an intelligence. You are part of it, you are singular. And I stayed in that state for quite some time before I was told I would return. Of course, I said, no, why would I want to go back? So I felt I was telling the creator, no. But there was no judgment. It was more like, let's show you some more of your life and on earth and how it will be and how you will help many. And so with that, I said, I will keep a part of my consciousness here, but I will journey back into the broken body, which stayed pretty much in a coma for a moment. So as the time went, and I was in New Mexico at the time, I was in Alaska, and we came down to New Mexico at the age of 7, about a year later. And that is the most beautiful Native American land. It is really the holy land for America. We should care for it and recognize that the teachings and the lineages and the grandfathers and the grandmothers in the council rooms, this is key for humanity. And I think many people are learning about this. They're going back to the old ways, but they were one of the gatekeepers for the star people to come in and teach humanity. And they still are those who are teaching the ways of the medicine wheel or sitting in council, or some of the groupings have these teachings that they pass on to the children. And I send prayers to the nations who held my heart, and the Arapaho, the Apache, the Navajo. And so the Zuni, there were so many that would gather. They gather in groupings. And my experience there was extraordinary because I learned the way of the council, and I was groomed by an Arapaho medicine woman named Ruby Sky. She taught me the way of the medicine wheel. I heard she was still living at one time. I hope maybe she still is. But so I am honorably carrying the teachings of the medicine wheel, which is the universal complex of yourself, that each person has their own universe. And later it was confirmed by the ultraterrestrials that each of us, there's 7 billion Earths, each one of us have our reality of Earth, and we merge and we blend over top of each other. But yet at the same time, there is one connected grid with the electromagnetic field, which is the group mind. So that is finite, and that's what we share together. So my life then opened up. That was an atomic bomb testing area. And I believe our government tested several atomic bombs in the atmosphere and actually tore the field. And we saw it, we watched it. The Native Americans, really were affected because they couldn't chant the chants and speak to, all communications was disrupted during that time. And so I was, 7 years old with my eyes wide open, and the huge starships started coming out at that time, huge, miles long, stopping traffic, and, they would go by silently. And, the cars would start up after they moved on their way. It was pretty amazing. So my life has been very uh, deeply ingrained in interdimensional existence. And at the same time, I ground myself as an optician for 15, 20 years, working in the medical field. I did quantum optical, which is the photonic light in the eyes with the Lumitron, working with Dr. Downing. And we did lots of neurosensory development, which helped people with their neurological balancing. And so I went into the quantum field and eventually opened the Temple of Light in 1986. It was my own research of 20 years of religions, comparative religions, which was my doctorate, different states of reality, the sciences, pyramidology. I had pyramids and negative ionizers, and you walked into my house and you were in the quantum field. So those years were phenomenal. I was guided out of the optical field into this quantum field, and I was living, unbeknownst to me, in the land of the interstellar people, our star kin. And they started appearing, the people of the town I lived in. This was normal. But to walk in the forest in the Mayakama Mountains where they lived and functioned was, eye-opening. And eventually the immortals began to appear to me, and those who were with me, we walk in the forest, and eventually I became more in connection with me. They took me into the council room, and I was ready because I was so used to being in presence of the ultra-terrestrials. So I'll leave it at that. I want to say I came down the mountain and we started the Galactic Earth Council, and we've been 11 years in connection. So we'll
Wow.
just say it like that.
Wow, incredible story. I mean, you've really encompassed a lot. If I can just ask you a few questions about what you shared there. So you were seeing, and I like that you say ultra-terrestrial. Tell me, does that include more than what people would perceive as extraterrestrial? And what does that word encompass?
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. Through the years, I've been studying the alien agenda, and I actually married, as special forces, and eventually he was security over one of the alien. So I learned that the word alien is connected to the government. Anytime you're saying alien, it's a government connected word that was given out to the public. So as I became closer to them and began to know them more, they asked me if I would call those who are on the earth. A lot of us think, oh, they have returned. No, they never left. There was a time 10,500 years ago where there was a decree from the radiant, the creator, the source, that there would be a separation between those galactics in the human body, because we're all galactics in a human body, who are taking on that form, and those of the interstellar groupings. So those who were on the planet still working but being invisible, going underground, or whatever bases, or the septicles, the interdimensional septicles, Gobi Desert, Shambhala, the halls of Amente, these interdimensional places, which I visited many times. These were ultra-terrestrials because they were the first here on the planet. Many of them have been guardians since the beginning. They never left, they never will. They're guardians over a vast area of time and space, our Sheshata or Milky Way. And so these guardians, I would call them ultra-terrestrials. If they're interstellar or interdimensional, they're coming from Andromeda, Lyra, Arcturus, the Pleiades. They live outside of our solar system, then they would be extraterrestrials, for me. So those are the things that I distinguish, and that you'll hear me speak.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that. So you were meeting them in physical form, as well as I'm sure you were meditating with them, but is that how you were actually getting to be trained and physically meeting with these ultra-terrestrial beings?
Yes, they would just appear, the first time I had that happen. It was very unnerving to just be sitting, and I was meditating as you raise your frequency so they can come into your field. So they just kind of morphed into standing in front of me about 20 feet away, this human being. And just the raising of the hand, you know, your body is trembling, you're freaking out, you're, you know, like, what's going on? And then eventually you calm down enough and, you know, you realize, you know, they come in peace. That is the symbol and the greeting. And yeah, so eventually I was met with the immortals. They send the immortals first, Tylee Po, Yeshe Sojo, Babaji, a lot of the immortals would appear and talk to me. And then, you know, you're seeing them in the ships. Eventually they bring you into the council room and they may engulf you in kind of, I call it the flame, you know, the rays. I think there was the IM grouping that would talk about the different rays, the violet ray, the, you know, the golden ray, the white ray. The first council I entered into was the white ray. And so you were placed in a white ray and then brought in to the council room. So there you would see different varieties of beings. You would see some that look like grays, some that look humanoid, some that looks like what they call the Nordics, or there's just different, you know, some look like reptilian type, but you know, I've seen, my favorite is the bee, the bee people. And because I love history and archives, they took me into the archives and I met Mila, who is actually a bee person. She is, and she guided me to an extraordinary adventure there. So it just depends on, you know, what it is that your purpose and function is. For me, I had been giving light group meetings because there was so much happening with the government. We had already figured out that the government had gone corrupt. And so I kind of gave a light group meeting where people could bring information to me and to each other and share. And so I'd been in about the 5th year. There's a grouping called the Solar Cross that appeared. And they had been in contact. Their leader had been a CIA agent, had gone up, been in contact with Ashtar Command, and went up in a ship, came down, quit the government, and started the Solar Cross. So they brought the Confederation, the Star Confederation ships, Ashtar Command. They brought that information and taught us the lessons of the command to our grouping. And then I would take them out into the field and these galaxy ships would appear and you would get a message, a telepathic message, you know. So it was a combination of if they needed to appear. The thing that was happening for me is we made a very deep connection telepathically, so they didn't have to physically appear where I was. And so we've kind of kept that. I did trance channeling for 15 years and then decided I needed to stay on my body for that. So there's been different levels of communication with them.
Wow, fascinating. You've got such a diverse history of experience. It's really amazing to hear about. So as we dig in a little more, I know you want to share with us about particularly about this year, 2022, and the importance of this year as well as the celestial healers. I'd love to hear you share about that.
That's some good stuff. I'm so excited. Thank you for opening the space for me to speak about that. So being in communication with the High Spiritual Council, they are excited for humanity. The image they show me is the egg cracked with beautiful light, golden light pouring through. And so this is a year where all of humanity can manifest through their will, their intent. So the first half of the first quarter of the year, up till March or so, is to really establish your intent for your life, for your family? What do you see for the world? I mean, seriously, the water's cleaned, this troublesome health issue resolved, but really seeing it as already completed, because we will be using our will as a unified mind to imprint against the fabric of creation. And the radiant one, the source, has been expressing in this field opposites. This is why it's been so difficult for us, because I said, why is there so much trauma here? You know, what's going on? He said, you are being tumbled like stones and being polished into a diamond. But that this dimensional field, the frequency was so low that the reverse consciousness, those who are not unified, whose virtue is to control, oppress, depress, is at, you know, is vibrating at such a primary state that their influx is affecting everything that's trying to come into balance, something of a higher frequency. And so slowly the earth is moving into a higher frequency place within the cosmos, which is affecting the reverse consciousness. So their power to envision what they need and to manifest it is slowly waning. Trust that. You're feeling the energies, you're feeling the intensity. Take that within yourself and realize for each one of you that it is empowering your body to handle more light, more information, and you can transmute that information to your own vision. So I'm so excited to say, this is your game now. And you holding the vision then can assist in guiding Earth into its rebirth into galactichood once again. Earth is an interstellar planet. It always has been, it always will, but the veil is dropping. So we will begin to use those muscles, and those muscles are to first begin manifesting our reality, seeing what you put out there become real. And so when you put an intent into the fabric and, you know, just hold that space, sometimes you can use a symbol, so you just concentrate on that. But if you say, well, I don't really believe that, or you are going to get a little mixture of that. So you're going to learn. It's baby steps, learning how to refine your own consciousness. I'm so excited to see what's coming. And then for those who have awakened to their divinity, and I'm not saying the word I am divine just as a word, but really know within your core self that you are human, you are divine, and you're working under the gracious of the source. That is the Holy Trinity. That is the Philosopher's Stone. All things can be. So there will be a unification of divine mind coming up, an impulse, you're going to see it. The calling forth of all divine beings to begin to speak and to give counsel and to start working together as one grouping. See, the divinity of the earth is awakening as one. And I've spent the last, since 2012, actually working with people and guiding them through the galactic origins. Why did you come to Earth? What are you here for? You know, where did you come from? It's so individually, it's so divinely graced. And when you go back to where you came from, you come face to face with who you truly are, your true nature, your purpose, your contracts. You can shift them, change them. The time is now. And so one of the offerings I'm making with Shayla, the free offering, is to help people to understand how to manifest, the meditation of manifesting, which we can talk about later. But yeah, so the divine impulse will be happening towards the middle of the year. And then from there, it just goes up. It's just an awakening. The whole end game is shifting, and we're preparing as we go across this chasm. It is a chasm. It is a leap for humanity. We must go as one across this leap and recognize that we need help. And so in recognizing that we cannot manage our weather, uh, the movement of the planetary system as the magnetic field is weakening, we need help technically with these things, that we open ourselves to our interstellar brothers and sisters, the ultra-terrestrials, to help us manage through these things. So we're right on the precipice, and so I'm so excited. And
Nice.
the last is, I want to say, is the celestial healers. Our some of our reverse consciousness leaders have stepped over the line with DNA experimentations and such, and it called forth the celestial healers. So they are here on the planet, and they're here in our solar system in dimensional fields, and they have taken me twice aboard a star command ship, galaxy ship, and showed me their healing room. I've actually been earlier when I was around 15, they took me to an island. They have an island for healing people, but in all the galaxy ships, they have a healing room that has this interdimensional um, uh, chamber that you step into, and they put you in a field, and your whole body is then assessed and brought back into harmony. So that's the whole thing, is to bring. So this is, you hear the words med bed, and it is connected to frequencies, but so much more. There's nothing on the planet yet that would equal these healing beds, but the healing room and the healing access to it is available for certain people who are looking to open these beautiful centers, and they're showing me how to guide people into going into these rooms they're specifically setting up. So beware of people saying med beds are interdimensional stellar. They are not yet, they're not on the planet, but there are frequency energies which can be helpful. So that's all I want to say on that.
Oh, I love it. It's interesting that you said it that way. For probably over a decade, I have been seeing, and I thought this was a physical place that I was supposed to create, but a center that I would have people come in and call in the light ship, and each person receives the healing, the galactic healing that they individually require or in need of. And you just basically described that.
I'm so excited for you, and I'm here to connect you should you desire.
Yeah.
For me, it's Starbase One. We're going to have a way that people can interface with the Galactics one-on-one, such as I did, where they manifest. And the thing is, I have time and time again taken people to the gateway, and they say, no, I'm not ready. So, and that's a real thing, it takes a lot to cross over and really open yourself. Am I going to come back, or what's going to happen? But yeah, I'd be willing to connect you to the celestial healers that are waiting for you.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I do have a lot of those connections. But
I'm
it
sure you
sounds
do.
sounds like you've got some really cool stuff going on. We'll definitely get to talk more about that. So thank you for sharing all of that. This is just fascinating. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about is you talk about the Galactic Earth Council, and you wrote your book about that, and you have a whole body of work around that. Can you share more with us? What is the Galactic Earth Council, and what do we need to know about that?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm really proud of all of us. The Galactic Earth Council started in 2010, July the 11th. But really, it started with the oil spill in Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico. It had been going on for months, from April, May, June. And I realized, I said, we're in trouble. This is serious. Wasn't sure that they could get it together. And all we need is the mid-Atlantic pump to stop, and we go into, an ice age again. So kind of looking at that, all of a sudden I'm in Northern California and I look up in the sky and there's, fleets and fleets of starships of all kinds. I mean, I'm looking at least 500 to 600 ships in the sky over Marin, not a care in the world. If you could see them, you could see them. If you couldn't, you couldn't, if your synapses was there. So I knew the world was in trouble. And so I was traveling from Marin to a place on the East Bay where my daughter lived, and I was staying with her. And as I kept going across, I realized there was one over her house. That's where we stayed. And I said, okay, I'm going to go out and just, glory in the light of the radiant one. That is the mantra they gave me, so that they know they can communicate with me. My spiritual awakening is enough that we can communicate. Immediately, a telepathic message came through from the commander. Gather as many humans as you can. We need them to give us permission to assist. I thought that was very interesting because, I said, oh, what about the government, the secret, this and that? They didn't want to deal with that. They wanted humans on the ground to give permission. So I thought, oh my gosh. Okay, so I said, okay, I'm going to gather. I'm a ceremonialist. We do ceremony a lot. I have the Temple of Light, priestess. So I said, okay, to my community. And I said, let's gather on the mountain. And they told me to gather in Marin. So we gathered in Marin, Fairfax, California. And we went to the top of the mountain and set up our little beautiful altar. And immediately they came out. It was just extraordinary for people who believed or didn't believe. They came out and we gently opened ourselves, so excited, and gave permission. So we had the High Spiritual Council appear, and they are the ones that you often see the writings on their fleet, on their ships. They have some of the coolest ships around, and they are strong and powerful. So they appeared, and they beamed us healing energy that day. And I felt it in my heart, and I said, okay, we are the Galactic Earth Council, because I did it in Native American style as a council in the circle, everybody together, sharing who they were. We did 4 rounds, praise to the God, to the mother, and then the 4 rounds. And by that time they had come out. So what happened is I asked everybody, do we want to do this again? And they said, yes. So as it turns out, it started a series of us meeting, and we just continue to meet. We're now 11 years meeting, and each of the advanced, if they've been out 4 times, they become certified as an advanced Galactic Earth Council member. You'll find their writings also in the book. This is a little bit of story of my life, my connection to the Galactics. It's like a little roadmap for those people who are interested in doing Skywatch, what happens out there. We have actual photographs of the people here, the members. We have photographs of the starships. They literally gave me, they gave me for humanity, how they designed the silhouette of San Francisco in the clouds right before our eyes. And the one on the darker one is the one where one of the ships came in, from the galaxy, and the bottom picture of it is when it opened up. So the first is the fireball and the second. So you'll get lots of information. You'll get chapter 11, which is a dissertation and encoded transmission from the High Spiritual Council. And it is about the history of Earth according to the Galactics. Quite powerful, quite interesting. And so they told me to write the book after, being gathering for 5 years. And so you have the advanced and my self writings and some of the galactics. So we continue to gather all over the world. We're international, thousands. And a part of the work now is for you to have your galactic origin or go session. So each one actually knows their origin. They've all been connected to their divinity, and they're all established within themselves. Nobody was abducted. Nobody went crazy. Nobody got attacked. It was, we even had some government agencies come up into our groupings, and they just gently left, when the starships came in and things were happening. They just gently went down, or they just stayed with the group to the end and just nodded and just on their way. So it's been quite an experience.
Wow, wonderful. So speaking of the sessions you just talked about, first, I want to make sure we share with everyone about your free gift. You are giving a golden life wisdom meditation as a free gift. And would you share about what that is?
Yes, the Golden Life Wisdom meditation for manifestation is the ebook that you simply go to the website and you can put in your email, and you'll immediately be able to download this book. It's filled with a practice. It becomes a practice. So this way of manifestation was given to me way before The Secret, in 1986. And I wrote it into a book, but somehow the book was taken, my manuscript. And so I didn't have time to write it again, but I received it from Meso, keeper of the books of the Seventh Council, direct transmission to me and the grouping that was with me. As I started teaching this, I shared with people how to manifest their life. It teaches you how you are connected to the universe, how it's always listening. It gives you everything you need and more. So when you begin the practice, you're looking to do 5 things that you put to the universe and watch manifest. By the time you're done with the 5th thing, you know without a shadow of a doubt that they are listening, and what is in your heart also others can affect your life. And how that happens, if they don't really believe that you could do what you're doing, it can affect the outcome of what it is you're trying to do. So there's a lot of measure of guidance. And when people get the book, I also help them. You can always contact me, and I can sit with you for 15 minutes and talk about what you did. Some of the examples would be, I had a beautiful sister who, she said, I have no money. I need a place to live. I'm writing this card and I need it now, because part of the prayer is, I need this. You're working from need, not want, because if you want something, you're just looking at it. So she puts the card up. Not even a day later, she gets a place. And she says, I'm an artist, So she has a place. A gentleman says, I have a room for you. You could do your art, da, 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 da. It was done. She said, oh gosh, I can't believe that. That was pretty fast. Well, I need a car. So I need a white car. She puts it out there. And, about a week or so later, I get the call. She goes, you're not going to believe it. I got the car, but the car is black. And she's going on about this. And I said, well, drive it over here. Let's have a look. And so she's driving it, and I'm looking down my driveway. And as she's just about ready to turn, a truck with white paint goes by her car. The paint falls off. By the time she gets into the driveway, her car has white paint everywhere. So she says, she jumps out and she goes, I'm not going to discuss it. She said, that was for me to learn, And so there's different levels. It's really fun, and it opens you up. And once you have the empowerment of knowing you are in charge of your life, then where do you want to go with that? You can transform your life for the better. So that's what the free gift is.
Wonderful. Ooh, that's exciting. I can't wait to read that and
Yeah.
and have some fun.
It's a short book. It's not
Uh,
extensive, it's
Yeah, this is wonderful. It's just been delightful to get to know more about you and your work and just all of the amazing things that you're doing and this incredible energy that you're sharing on the planet. And so before we close, is there anything that you'd like to leave the viewers and listeners with?
Well, I'm so honored that you have come to this beautiful alchemy of ascension. And may the words that I've shared with you bless you upon your path. I'm so deeply in gratitude for the presence, and thank you, Waishela, for having me here. It's been wonderful to get to know you as well. And I'm so honored for all the work that you have done to bring this to the spiritual community and those who are awakening. So we say, glory in the light of the radiant one, peace be on your way. You are the divine ones, and the time is now to awaken. And Kishina Marana Krishnateya, Brantakuna Maishtahe, in the light of the one.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Star. It's been wonderful having you here. And thank you to everyone listening and watching. Have a beautiful day, evening, wherever you are. I love you and cherish you. Namaste.